Donald Trump has already realized that America cannot remain the world's boss for too long. Because history shows a pattern, global powers change over time. If we look back at the last 1,000 years, from the year 1000 to 1700 AD, India and China were the richest countries in the world. From 1700 to 1900 AD, Britain became the world leader. From 1900 to 2000 AD, the United States dominated. Now, from 2000 to 2025, China has been overtaking the US, and India and China once again seem ready to shift the world order. And Trump wants to stop this. Because if China rises, then the US may end up like Britain is today, no longer a superpower. But looking at Trump's decisions, it doesn't seem like he can really stop it. In fact, Trump and his allies might actually be helping other countries become superpowers. Trump wants to show the world that he alone is the Savarak, and he often claims that it's because of him that the India-Pakistan war was avoided. He has repeated this more than 33 times, and now he tries to pressurize India over the Russia-Ukraine war. Earlier, tariffs were 10% on some items and 25% on others. Trump increased them to 25% and even threatened that if India did not stop buying Russian oil, tariffs would rise to 50%. Finally, on August 27, Trump raised it to 50%. But the real question is, what effect will this have on India and on you? India and China's relationship is not new. Trade and cultural exchange between the two began almost 2,000 years ago. Buddhism spread from India to China and continues to influence Chinese culture today. Chinese travelers like Xuanzang, Huansung, and Fexun came to India, studied at universities like Nalanda and Vikramshila, and carried Indian knowledge back to China. Through the Silk Road, Indian and Chinese merchants exchanged goods, ideas, and culture. India sent spices, textiles, and philosophy, while China sent silk and porcelain. In the 20th century, when both nations became independent, their relations took a new turn. In 1954, the Peninsular Agreement was signed, based on the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence. This was the time when the slogan, "Indians and Chinese are brothers," was popular. The world thought that together these two neighbors would transform Asia. But the friendship didn't last long. The 1962 war completely changed the relationship. The India-China border issue is unique. They share a 3,500 km long boundary, but large parts of it are still disputed. The 1962 India-China war was the biggest turning point. China claimed territories in Ladakh and Arunachal Pradesh and launched a sudden attack. India lost the war, which was a major setback to its foreign and security policy. Tensions never really went away. In 2017, the Doklam standoff brought soldiers face to face. In 2020, the Galwan Valley clash claimed soldiers' lives, marking the worst crisis in decades. Even today, disputes remain in Ladakh and Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh is an integral part of India, but China calls it South Tibet. China also occupies areas like Eksa-Chin in Ladakh. Despite multiple agreements, trust between India and China has always remained fragile. China is India's largest trading partner. India imports mobile phones, electronics, machinery, chemicals, and raw materials for medicines from China. About 70% of smartphones sold in India were Chinese brands. This number has now fallen to just 0.8%. But India's mobile assembly industry still relies on Chinese parts and chips. India's manufacturing sector also imports machinery, auto parts, solar panels, and power equipment from China. Even India's pharmaceutical industry, known as the pharmacy of the world, depends on China for nearly 70% of active pharmaceutical ingredients, APIs, the raw materials for medicines. In return, India exports iron ore, cotton, and some agricultural products to China. But the trade is highly imbalanced. In 2023-24, India imported $101 billion worth of goods from China, but exported only $16.6 billion. After the Gulwan clash in 2020, India banned over 200 Chinese apps, including Tuk-Tuk and WeChat, and emphasized Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India policies. Yet the reality is that India's electronics and pharma sectors still heavily depend on China. On the other hand, India is a huge market for China. So while political tensions rise, breaking economic ties is not easy for either side. Both nations are trying to expand their influence in the 21st century. China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, aims to connect Asia, Africa, and Europe. India has opposed it because one route passes through Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, is India's biggest concern. Pakistan is already hostile toward India, and China's growing partnership with it threatens India's security. In response, India has strengthened ties with the US, Japan, and Australia through the Quad Alliance, balancing China's influence in the Indo-Pacific. But India and China are not always rivals. They cooperate in forums like BRICS, G20, and SCO, and often collaborate on global issues like climate change and economic development. So the relationship is a mix of rivalry and partnership. What does the future of India-China relations look like? There are three possibilities. 1. Tensions rise, border disputes and geopolitics could escalate, even leading to warlike situations. 2. Cooperation grows, trade and shared global concerns could strengthen ties. 3. Competition plus cooperation, a mix of rivalry and partnership, which seems closest to today's reality. Both are nuclear powers, both have massive armies, and both are on the path to becoming global superpowers. If they clash, the impact will not just be on Asia, but on the entire world. But if they cooperate, Asia could become the new center of peace and development. From ancient culture and Buddhism to the 1962 war to modern-day trade and strategy, the India-China story has seen everything. It is a relationship of brotherhood, rivalry, and necessity. But one thing is certain: no major story of the coming century can be written without India and China. So the real question for you is, will India and China become friends in the future? Or will their rivalry push Asia into conflict? Or will things remain the same as today? The comment section is for you.